Welcome to the Kenya Daily Report here. On September of 27th, the year 2022, 2 weeks after the President of the Republic of Kenya had been sworn in, President William Ruto as the fifth President of the Republic of Kenya, a very mysterious thing happened in the country. One of Ruto's lawyers in the ICC, a man that the ICC, the International Criminal Court, had accused of tampering with the evidence that implicated William Ruto in the International Criminal Court case, was found dead at his current home. The previous day, which was on 26th, Paul Gicheru, Ruto's lawyer in the ICC, and a man that was now out on a board of Kenya shillings 1 million after he was after the ICC had accused him of tampering with witness report and even threatening witnesses that were giving testimonies against President William Ruto. 2 weeks, exactly 2 weeks after Ruto was sworn in, the man was found dead at his family home in Karen. The death was termed as a mysterious death, and police launched investigation into his death. It is believed even his son, who ate the same food, who was with Paul Gicheru, the previous day they spent together, was also taken ill the same day that his father died. Now, after treatment, his son was released, but Paul Gicheru was found dead with foam coming out of his mouth. A lot of questions have been asked until date. What really killed Paul Gicheru? And why exactly 2 weeks after President William Ruto was sworn in is when Paul Gicheru died? Remember, this is a man that held the secrets of the president since he served as his attorney in the International Criminal Court. Now sit down and relax as we take you down through the journey of Paul Gicheru and the International Criminal Court with President William Ruto. A lot of theories that have been put out on what really killed Paul Gicheru. We will also tackle that. Sit down, relax, and enjoy the show. Now allow us to diverge into the case of one lawyer, Paul Gicheru. Gicheru and another Kenyan lawyer, Philip Koech Bet, were indicted by the International Criminal Court prosecutor, and warrants of their arrest were issued against them in the year 2015. This was a year before the case against President William Ruto and that of radio presenter Joshua Arap Sang was drawn out in the year 2016. And the warrant of their arrest were issued on the offenses against the administration of justice in the International Criminal Court. Specifically, they were alleged to have corruptly influenced prosecution witnesses in order to frustrate the case against Ruto and a radio presenter, Joshua Arap Sang. Gicheru surrendered to the International Criminal Court, or ICC, in November 2020. Since then, he had been on trial in Hague. On 1st February, the year 2021, he was released from ICC custody after being in their custody for about 3 months. He was released and traveled back to Kenya, but under specific conditions that restricted his liberty. Until his death in Nairobi, he was still subject of strict limitations on travel, and his ability to communicate to the public about the merits of his case at the ICC. The court was yet to deliver its decision on Gicheru's case when he died. Now, a key dimension in Gicheru's case has been Kenya's initially uncooperative approach towards the ICC. In November 2017, the High Court of Kenya lifted the ICC warrants of arrest against Gicheru and Bet. That time, William Ruto was the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. On the grounds that Kenya had not been consulted and the country had the capacity to prosecute the cases domestically. Even when Gicheru voluntarily surrendered himself, the Kenyan government still considered the 2017 High Court order that lifted his warrant as valid, implying that the ICC did not have jurisdiction to try him. Amidst the legal dilemma, the ICC recognized Kenya's unavoidable role in the case. When Gicheru was released from the ICC detention at the start of the year 2021, he was expected to travel back to Kenya and return to Hague during the hearing of his case. However, it was after Gicheru signed a concert to surrender, as provided under Section 40 of Kenya's International Crimes Act, that the government cooperated with the ICC to enforce the conditions in his interim release during his time in Kenya. And remember, Gicheru was released on a bond of 1 million Kenyan shillings. All in all, Kenya demonstrated its willingness to cooperate with the ICC to ensure that Gicheru complied with the court's condition restricting his liberty while in Kenya. Gicheru's death raised concerns about the ICC's future engagement with Kenya, considering that cases against journalist Walter Osapiri Baraza and Bet were still open. The ICC required cooperation and support from Kenya for the arrest and transfer of the suspects to Hague, and protection of its staff and witnesses involved in the case. Before his death, Gicheru's case was serving to mend Kenya's fractious relationship with the ICC in compliance with Kenya's International Crimes Act and the Rome Statute. Equally, Kenya remained under an obligation to execute the request to arrest and surrender of Bet and any other suspect indicated by the ICC. Now, let's come back to the death of Gicheru. In Nairobi, September 27th, every media house in Kenya reported on the death of lawyer Paul Gicheru. Now, allow me to read to you a publication by the Voice of Africa in regards to this case and what they had to say in regards to the case of lawyer Paul Gicheru, because this case and his untimely death at the age of 50 arose a lot of questions. As we speak right now, we all know that Kenyans on different social media platforms have revived a narrative of trying to have the International Criminal Court look into the case of, look into the acts of crimes against humanity in Kenya since the demonstrations of June 25th, which led to death of so many Kenyans, where a lot of youths took to the street to demonstrate against the government of President William Ruto. Now, according to the Kenyan police authorities in Nairobi, on Tuesday of September 2022, Kenyan Police Authority reported the death of Paul Gicheru, who had previously been linked with the recently elected President William Ruto then, and had the cause of death was then unknown. Now, according to the police, the body was found lying on the back, clean, casually dressed, and no saliva or blood on any body opening, read the police report, and added the deceased is a known diabetic and high blood pressure patient Authorities under the Kenya Human Rights Commission expressed concern over Gicheru's untimely death and called for swift and conclusive investigation. Upon death, Gicheru was facing charges, as I said, in the International Criminal Court. Now, ICC spokesman Fadi El Habdallah in the year 2022 said that he could not comment on Gicheru's case but only on the procedure to be followed. If there is information about the death of an accused, a confirmation of this information should be submitted to the trial chamber and the chamber issues a decision ending the case. Judges are currently considering their verdicts in the case. No date had been set for a hearing to deliver the judgment. That is what the spokesperson to the International Criminal Court said then in regards to the death of lawyer Paul Gicheru. Now, back to a publication that was issued. A publication that was published on 27th September 2022 by the Ruto'S, which is a popular website and a popular media website all over the world. They said the Kenyan lawyer had been charged at the International Criminal Court with bribing witnesses in the collapsed trial of President William Ruto 6 years ago, which was then in 2016 that the case had collapsed. But Gicheru died 6 years later in 2022. Now, Kenyan media reported, both the Citizen Television and Standard newspaper reported that Gicheru had been found dead at his home in Nairobi's Karen area, citing information from the police. The cause of his death was not immediately known. Police spokesperson Bruno Shioso did not immediately respond to a request for comment then. In February, Gicheru denied bribing. In February 2022, denied bribing prosecution witnesses in the case against Ruto and his co-accused, broadcaster Joshua Arap Sang, who were both charged with fomenting ethnic violence after disputed 2007 election in which 1,200 people died. Sang and Ruto, who was sworn in as president on 13th of September 2022, denied the charges. Now, ICC judges ruled in 2016 that the two, Ruto and Sang, had no case to answer but left the open door to possible fresh charges in future, saying that the case had been hampered by political interference and threats against witnesses. Gicheru had been charged with 8 counts of offenses against the administration of justice. He faced a maximum of 5 years in prison or a fine if convicted. Now, after this, allow us now to diverge into the Kenyan narrative. When President William Ruto was elected into office, many believed that, a lot of Kenyans believed that their prayers were answered. Now come to the relationship between Ruto and his lawyer Paul Gicheru. Paul Gicheru is believed to have connived with others to intimidate and interfere with witnesses that were aligned by the International Criminal Court, which was then led by Fatu Bensouda and Jose Moreno Ocampo, to testify against Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang. Remember, Ruto and Arap Sang were the only suspects that were remaining. The other cases, including that of President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, had been quashed or had been closed, and he was said to have no case to answer in 2014, 1 year after he was elected to office. Now, tell me, how coincidental was it that a man that knew about every secret involving President William Ruto's case in the International Criminal Court dies mysteriously 2 weeks after Ruto is sworn into office? A lot of Kenyans allege that foul play was involved, and many have a narrative that really circulates saying that the man had gotten greedy and started asking for a lot of compensation from the then president, or he would offer testimony in the International Criminal Court that would lead to the reopening of Ruto's case in the International Criminal Court. Now, come right now, at a time like this, if Gicheru was alive and the incident that followed in June 20, in June 26, 2024, and he decides to testify and provide information that can revive that case, what do you think would be the future of Kenya and or the future of President William Ruto as the President of the Republic of Kenya? So Gicheru was a stumbling block that had to be dealt with. Now, according to the investigation, remember, the investigation was being done while Ruto was the commander-in-chief of all armed forces. The investigation was concluded that since this man had pre-existing conditions of diabetes and high blood pressure, then that is what led to his death. But how many patients of high blood pressure just die out of the blues, with them carrying the secrets that could lead somebody to being prosecuted in Hague? That is a question that we ask. Now, as of right now, Kenyans are trying to write to the International Criminal Court, calling upon it to investigate current acts in the country, or current crimes against humanity in the country. And most of them are tagging the International Criminal Court, reminding it that the man that is currently the President of the Republic of Kenya was a suspect in the International Criminal Court in the year 2007, when the post-election violence of POE, the PEV, the post-election violence of 2007-2008 happened. Now, what do you think could be happening right now if Gicheru was alive and he decides to turn a witness against President William Ruto? Now, remember also there are client privileges, client attorney privileges, where the attorney, if you are an attorney of somebody, you are not supposed to go and break your code of conduct by exposing details of your clients. Now, a lot was spoken and a lot was speculated about the death of lawyer Paul Gicheru. But until date, many have never believed that lawyer Paul Gicheru died of natural or of complications that could be termed as natural. Many believe that there was a hand that played key role in leading to the death of this man. Because tell me, a man is being accused of tampering with witnesses in a case which involves just a recent sworn in president. And now this man also has his future hanging on the balance. Gicheru is believed to have been persuaded to turn witness and provide information that would have led to the reopening of the case against William Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang. Now, how would that be for a man that is the President of the Republic of Kenya? Gicheru was a problem that had to be taken care of. And that is why not much investigation was put into his death. It just happened, and even the information about his burial was not highly publicized. the cause of death, and the family decided to keep everything under wraps. Now, not only that, after his death, the family of Paul Gicheru came to find some very critical information that really brought up a lot of things. According to a publication by Nasri Kanini, on 17th of February, the year 2023, reveals that all lawyer Paul Gicheru's bank accounts were found empty. The late lawyer Paul Gicheru, who was a suspect in the International Criminal Court, did not leave any money in any of the 6 bank accounts listed in his name. Now, tell me if Gicheru, if his death was really something that was just normal, and all the money that was in his 6 bank accounts disappears mysteriously. Remember, this was a very prominent lawyer and a man who was highly loaded. Also, there is a certain theory that also goes around that somebody in his family or in his close circle was involved in the poisoning that led to his death. Because according to the family, Gicheru ate his lunch, said that he was feeling a little dizzy, and just went to bed. When he went to bed, he never woke up the next morning. Now, the question that a lot of Kenyans ask, did lawyer Paul Gicheru used to sleep alone? Yet he and his wife and his children used to live in the same house. A man that was married died in his bed alone. His wife, the following day, went to check on him to find him dead. How does that really end up? A lot of question marks still lingers in the minds of many Kenyans in regards to what really led to the death of lawyer Paul Gicheru, the man who carried the secrets of President William Ruto in regards to the Hague case. For now, I leave it there. Allow me to read also a publication by the government critic, on 21st of October, the year 2024. And he said, lawyer Paul Gicheru, the last standing ICC witness, died of poisoning immediately Ruto became the president. That was a publication that came on October 2024. Now, the court ruled there was insufficient evidence, but it refused to acquit him. In a split ruling, one judge declared it a mistrial because of a troubling incidence of witness interfering and intolerable political meddling. Mr. Ruto denied murder, deportation, and persecution charges during violence that followed the 2007 elections, in which about 1,200 people were killed. Until date, a lot has been speculated, a lot has been said on what really led to the death of lawyer Paul Gicheru. Many among Kenyans say that the top man or the bigger men in the country had a hand in it, because he was a threat to them and their political future, because he held a lot of secrets. It's believed that some of the witnesses, including a man who was the spokesperson of Mungiki, was killed, and Gicheru is believed to have had a hand in it, because the said man was trying to implicate that Ruto and the other Ocampo 6 had requested for their services. What is your take and what is your comment in regards to this? Leave a comment on the comment section, and don't